Okay, David Weinberger, one of the takeaway quotes for me was that transparency is the new objectivity.
Yeah, we'll say that. Sure.
Right. Well, I was wondering if you could just explain what that meant.
We used to use objectivity, at least think we were using it, as a way of deciding what to believe. And there's lots of critiques of objectivity in the past couple generations. Nevertheless, we've used it as, it's been instrumental. We've used something like objectivity as a way of thinking that we're getting. But the problem with objectivity is multiple problems. One of them is that it's a stopping point. Right? That was the whole point. If you go to an objective source, it's credentialed, you believe it's objective, and so that's where you stop your belief. They said it. They're objective. So 2 generations of critiques of objectivity. We know it's a deeply flawed idea. It's actually an impossible idea. Transparency does something different. So the sort of transparency I had in mind was where you can see the arguments over the expression of something in on a blog or a publication of any sort, Wikipedia and the like. So you wonder whether this thing is true. Why should you believe it? Well, you don't believe it simply because some blogger said it or even because Wikipedia said it. At least you shouldn't. With transparency, you're not at the dead end. You can go back and say, so this is why they were arguing about it. I see, it came out of this, it came out of that discussion. Here's why. Maybe you'll be persuaded that it was the right thing, or maybe you'll say, no, this comes from a bunch of people who believe this, and I don't believe that. So transparency becomes the way in which we certify beliefs. We discover what it is that we think is worth believing. It's a much messier, more difficult process, but objectivity was sort of a hack, a fake way, a hack in the bad sense, a fake way of getting to certainty that, in fact, never really worked out.
One follow-up to that is, because we were also in the panel about journalism, and it seemed to me like, and don't let me put words in your mouth.
Please, I put that question so badly.
No, I thought it was a good question. You were talking about, I guess, coverage. There's obviously a problem in journalism where it had relied on objectivity, and I guess, well, where does journalism find transparency to replace that? And maybe that's the question that we don't have an answer to.
Okay, so it's difficult to do in print because it is a dead end, right? You can't easily get to the next source. Although there can certainly be, and there is now, much more transparency within mainstream journalism about the credibility of sources. So they'll say, according to a blogger or according to tweets from Iran. That sort of metadata is very, very helpful. So that's a type of transparency. It's not the full-blown thing you can get online where you can actually see the arguments. Now, newspapers still don't show you, and Encyclopedia Britannica online does not show you the arguments that the editors had, the back and forth, the reporter pushing and the editor saying, no, you don't have enough sources, whatever it is. There's not a lot of movement in that direction either, as far as I can tell. I mean, what went on in the newsroom and in the editorial discussions is still not being surfaced to us. Nevertheless, we do get that in lots of other sources online. Should I say something about the coverage thing, or is that just a red herring?
It's up to you.
So the coverage question, which I botched so badly in is actually an analog to objectivity. Maybe. Still may not put this well, but what I was trying to ask this really wonderful panel of journalists was newspapers, and radio shows, and news magazines, all of whom are represented in the panel, make an offer to us. And it used to be they would say, we're giving you what's objective, that's part of our value. And they don't say that so much, but they say it's neutral, it's fair. And they still say, we're giving you coverage, the sort of coverage you don't get anywhere else. And by that they mean some selection, the right selection of everything important that's going on in the world during that time period. And it seems to me that coverage is an idea that's as flawed as objectivity, and that it doesn't scale very well, and it pretends to be value-free. Here's everything you need to know. Well, that is such a value-laden judgment, but it is presented to us as not. So what I was trying to ask is the idea of coverage as something that these things offer to us, one of the values they offer, is that going to go the way of objectivity? I think the answer is yes, but I didn't answer it. I didn't ask it well enough to be able to get a good answer.
Well, I think it's a fair question. David Weinberger, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And well, what's your new book? I know it's.
I'm working on a couple things. One sort of about the history of information, another about the networking of expertise, but both are sort of in trying to work up a proposal at Sage. So,
cool. Well, thank you very much.